If I woke up tomorrow at 42 years old and was 20 pounds overweight, these are the exact lifestyle habits I would focus on because they are going to have the highest return on investment, and some of them might surprise you. Hi, I'm Dr. Paige Picard. I'm a double board certified doctor in family medicine and lifestyle medicine, and I have a degree in psychology. I teach women over 40 how to make their healthy habits stick because you need to know what to do, but also how to do it. And that's what we're going to go through in this video. Not just the 6 habits that can change your health and weight, but exactly how to put them into your everyday life. Because we need to stop starting over and finally get some foundational habits down that we can do no matter what. Here's the thing that nobody tells you. Your body handles weight differently in your 40s than it did, say, at 25. Your stress is different, your metabolism is different, your metabolic flexibility has all changed. And the habits that used to work, like skipping breakfast or doubling down on a really hard workout, backfire now. And that's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because the strategies that are going to work for you now are just a little bit different. You don't need more willpower and you don't need more discipline. What you need at this stage are habits that are actually going to move the needle. Your next choice. Metabolic flexibility, and habits that compound over time. So if I were starting at 42 and hoping to lose 20 pounds, here's exactly what I would do. Habit number 1 is probably not going to surprise you, and that is to drink exclusively water. As much as I could, I would eliminate sugar-sweetened beverages, coffees, energy drinks, and lattes, even alcohol, all out of my diet. Now, maybe a black coffee and some tea, those are great beverages to keep, but making water the base foundation beverage that you drink. Here's the science behind it. Sugary and calorically dense drinks are a number 1 source of invisible calories. When we drink this liquid sugar, your body doesn't register that as filling. And in order to deal with that sugar in your bloodstream, it spikes your insulin. Insulin is a hormone that we want to keep as steady as we can. Of course, sugar is going to go up in your blood after we eat, and insulin is going to respond. We need a smooth metabolic response so that that hormone stays as steady as possible. And here's the psychology. Most women know we should drink more water, but every time you go to have a drink, it becomes a decision. And every time our brain has to make a decision, it starts to negotiate with us just a little bit, right? Oh, I had a poor night's sleep. Oh, I need something after a hard day's work. Oh, I have a long drive today. I'm just going to have a little treat. Instead, we have to make water the default habit. We have to fill our water bottles in the morning, have a large cup of water before coffee, then have a large cup of water before every meal. You're already well on your way to hitting at least 40 ounces of water every single day, and you no longer have to think about it. You don't have to negotiate with your brain about which beverage you're going to have at what point in the day. You wake up, you have water, you have that before all of your meals, and now it becomes your default drink. So if I were starting over at 42, I wouldn't try to drink more water. I would just simply make that the only option. Make it the default, create that habit, do it consistently for 21 days, and that habit is more likely to stick in your life for the long haul. Habit number 2 is very surprising to people, and I would stop tracking calories and start tracking fiber. We need to know how many grams of fiber we're getting in a day. Here's the science behind it. Fiber is the macronutrient that helps us feel full. It's the one that's going to feed your gut microbiome, which is going to result in a steadier hormonal state for you. It's also going to blunt that post-meal blood sugar spike and lead to less overall inflammation. The reality is most women are getting half or less of the recommended fiber that we should be taking in every single day. Most women are getting between 10 and 15 grams when really the minimum is 25 grams in our diet every day. Here's the psychology behind it. An eat less mindset, which comes with calorie counting, puts our body in scarcity mode. The less we eat, the more likely we are to binge later because your body is going to make up for that calorie deficit. Tracking the fiber flips the framework from restriction to addition. You're not asking, what am I allowed to have on this diet? You're asking, how can I add in all of these grams of fiber so that I can feel my fullest and live my healthiest life? That is a relationship with food that your brain won't fight. So if I were starting over counting my fiber instead of my calories, first I would track how many grams of fiber I'm getting in a day. And then I would increase that by 3 to 5 grams every few days and see how my gut adapts. One great way to do this is to add in a single piece of fruit. An apple is going to give you around 4 grams of fiber. Add in an apple every day for a week and see how you feel. And then start to add in more grains, like a bowl of whole road oats in the morning with a little bit of chia seeds or flax seeds. Right there, you're going to be getting almost half of the fiber you need every single day from a breakfast meal. Add in a cup of blueberries, have your apple for a snack, and you are well on your way. It's tiny, small changes like this. The smaller you can start, the more successful you're going to be. The third thing I would do is to move naturally throughout my day. I'm not talking about a dedicated exercise routine. I am talking about regular activity. Here's the science behind it. Being sedentary most of the day undermines even the best workout. When we sit for prolonged periods of time, think 8 to 10 hours a day, we commute to work, we sit at a desk, we come home, we sit on the couch. All of this sitting really hurts our muscles, our blood sugar, and our body's ability to process the foods that we eat. Movement spread throughout the day, particularly after meals or in small exercise snacks, will help the muscles to pull glucose right into them without the need for insulin. This will help keep that hormonal balance we're looking for and also help to add healthy years to your life. Here's the psychology behind it. Most exercise goals fail because they are setting you up for an all or nothing mindset. When we think about daily movement and we just think in very small chunks of getting up and having a little exercise snack, maybe doing 10 to 15 body weight squats or going for a 5-minute walk after lunch. This type of change is so small, it requires almost no motivation at all. And the more you action on this habit, the more likely you are to complete it because you're going to gain a sense of confidence and self-efficacy. The more we do something, even the smallest thing, like taking a 5-minute walk, the more we're saying, I trust myself to keep the promises that I made. So if I were starting over in my 40s, I would stop counting one intense workout and instead set a reminder on my phone every 60 minutes to make sure that I get up. 2 minutes counts here. Stretch, move, walk, step in place, whatever you need to do to get up and stop sitting so much throughout our day. The fourth thing I would do is immediately start a strength training routine. And let me be clear about what I mean, because the smallest activity counts here. Here's the science behind it. After age 30, we lose 3 to 8% of our muscle mass every decade. That compounds over time. But the good news is it's never too late to build that muscle back. Muscle is our metabolic engine. It is what is going to keep our metabolism going. It is what's going to burn up that food that you eat long after you've had your meal. Not only that, we need muscle to maintain our independence and to do the things that bring us a full life. And in order to do that, we have to do some progressive overload on our muscles. They will adapt and they will start to grow. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. Here's the psychology behind it. Most women will skip strength training because if they only have 2 to 5 minutes, they think, that's not enough to make a difference, so I'm not even going to bother. When I can get to the gym and do a full lower body workout, when I can meet with a trainer, when I can follow that whole YouTube video, does this sound familiar? Then I'll start. But the problem is we never actually get going. We need consistency with low intensity because that's going to beat out high intensity, but lack of consistency and never actually getting that workout in. There are a few high yield exercises that you can do with your own body weight in a small circuit to fit in 5 minutes in the morning. If you can start doing 10 body weight squats or even just sitting in a chair and standing up, because that might be where your body is today, and that's okay. Holding onto a wall and stepping back with 1 foot at a time to go into a small lunge. Do 10 of those next. Then you can do something as simple as 10 calf raises or Romanian deadlifts. I will go through a whole video on exactly what I teach my patients and coaching clients to start for their exercise routine. But remember, doing 10 exercises in a row using your own body weight is a perfect start. Once you get in the habit, you can work on the foundation, progressing through more difficult movements and firing it up with some weights, but we don't have to start there on day one. We just have to start intentionally training our muscles. So if I was 45 and starting over, I would give myself a small body weight circuit of squats, lunges, and deadlifts. And then I would move on to a wall push-up, maybe an overhead press, and a back row. These exercises done consistently will max take you 15 minutes and will make all the difference in your ability to maintain independence and also build that muscle back for your metabolic machine. Habit number 5 is so simple, I even overlooked it. I didn't leave the time. I had other things to do. I had other demands. And so I often didn't do this habit. Well, I have been through 5 pregnancies, which came with it weight gain, weight loss, a lot of body changes. And the number one thing that shifted my perspective on how my body uses energy is taking a walk after my largest meal of the day. For me, that was dinner. I used to make excuses. I have to clear the table. I have to put the plates in the dishwasher. I have to get the kids settled. And instead, I left my sneakers right at the door and got everybody outside. If it was the best walk of our lives, great. If we just went down the street, that works too. Whatever we need to do to get in a short walk. The science behind this is that a short walk meaningfully changes post-meal glucose. The muscles pull that glucose in, and when done consistently over time, it will lead to meaningfully better insulin sensitivity. The psychology behind this one is a little bit different. This habit works because it's stacked onto something you already do. You're already going to sit down and eat. Much like drinking a glass of water before your meal, now you're going to get your sneakers on and go for a walk after your meal. When we habit stack new behaviors onto existing ones, we are more likely to complete them because our brain has to register less change. If I do this, then I do that. It's a great way to use if-then statements. If I eat, then I'm going to go for a walk. It's simple and probably the most effective thing you are going to do aside from strength training. And the 6th thing I would do, probably the hardest for me personally with 5 little kids, is to protect my sleep. Really to aim for 7 to 9 hours every single night. Here's the science behind sleep and weight. Sleep consistency, not just total hours, regulates the hormones that are responsible for hunger and fullness. And irregular sleep schedule can undo even getting enough sleep on paper. It can make us feel groggy and hungry. It's going to spike our cortisol, lead to more inflammation, less clear thinking, and an inability to make healthy choices. Here is the psychology behind this. Most women think if I can just set an earlier bedtime, then I'll be successful in getting enough sleep. But it's not as simple as that. It doesn't really work because we're living busy lives. We're taking care of families, children, grandchildren. And what we need to do is anchor our sleep onto our mornings. This sounds counterintuitive, but stick with me. If we get exposure to bright morning light upon waking, our body will naturally start to produce melatonin 10 to 12 hours later, the hormone that makes us sleepy. So if we can get that morning light and then get off of our screens for an hour before bedtime, those 2 habits are going to lead to more sleep consistency than enforcing a strict bedtime. It might not be something you've tried before, but sticking to this rhythm every day, including the weekends, will lead to more sleep consistency, which is going to improve your sleep quality better than any other thing you can do. So if I were starting over, I wouldn't continue to fight myself to go to bed earlier. I would pick a wake-up time. Then I would get exposure to bright morning light within 30 minutes of waking up. I would stand outside and let that sun hit my eyes. If this isn't possible, you could get something like a Verilux or a Happy Light to put in your house off to the side and get exposure to light that way so that we can reset our circadian clocks. So that's it. Those are the 6 things. You may have thought to yourself, these are more simple than I was expecting. And that's the whole point. They're not trendy. There's no fad. These are the foundations of a healthy life and regular hormonal balance. I can tell you confidently and from experience personally that it is not a dramatic overhaul that's going to radically change your life. We have to think about the next choice and continue to say to yourself, my next choice matters most. What can you do to move a little bit more in the next hour? What can you do to improve your next meal? How can you get yourself to wake up and see the sunlight tomorrow? Just focus on the very next choice in front of you, and these habits will begin to stick automatically. If any of these felt like the right place to start, I've put together a download. It's completely free. It's the Healthy Foundations method of habit change. You pick just one small habit and you go through a loop to practice, grow, track, and improve. It's linked below if you want it. Thanks for watching. And if you found this video useful, hit subscribe so you don't miss my next one.